Yeah. Yeah, look, I just shed tears, homie. Now I ain't too proud to admit it. Just seen my father for the first time in a minute. And when I say it,
So, scene summary and inspirations. The reason I decided to create the scene was because I wanted to make something that feels relatable, something that people could connect to. And I wanted to create characters that you could feel you can step into their shoes and understand what they're going through. So firstly, what set me onto making this film was, or scene should I say, was I saw a clip from The Dark Knight Rises, and the scene I was looking at was the scene where we see Bruce putting on his knee cast, and it looks like to me that it sort of gives him his ability back from when he had his injury. So we sort of see him recovering, and later on we see him kick a wall. From this is where I got my inspiration from. So from experiences of my own, being injured and going through hospital appointments and physio and all those kind of things, when I saw Bruce kick the wall, for me this represented frustration with him. So it was just like a thing where he was just so frustrated that he wanted to sort of get back to doing what he always done, like being Batman. So he wanted to get all his full abilities and capabilities back. So from this, I wanted to create a character that I sort of saw myself being. And then moving on from that, I got inspired by a song called Breakdown by J. Cole. So after that, I wanted to sort of connect the song and the scene from Batman together. And what the song Breakdown talks about is desires and giving up on your personal and social situations. And in this song, J. Cole speaks about how his father left him when he was younger, and how his mother had to play both roles while his father wasn't really around. It talks about giving up as well, which is why it's called Breakdown. But it talks about breakdown mentally, so just giving up on life, and also socially. So how the society is breaking down. I wanted to connect all these things, but it was sort of hard to make everything connect together and link. So I sort of just done a brainstorm and see how I could make everything relate and correspond with each other, and just create a story after that. So I wanted to create a father character who was physically there, but he wasn't really emotionally there. So he was there as a father, just saying hi and bye and how's your day been, but he wasn't really there to ask like all the deep stuff you expect your father to know. And from there, that's how I sort of began. So the spine of the story is a son who feels neglected by his father due to the fact that his mother's left, and he really hasn't had anyone else to replace what he's lost and missed out on in his childhood. So this has caused Anthony and his dad Dave to have an awkward relationship between each other, and it's really strained because of the lack of communication they have, or what they don't have. So they don't really know how to build off this. So it all started when Anthony was a young boy, around the age of 2. His mother and his father had a really rocky period in their life where Annabelle decided to leave, which is what I've named her. So for many years, Anthony, Annabelle and Dave tried to have kids, but Dave was infertile, and this was due to his history of smoking excessively and just really being one of those guys to rave like every night and just all those kind of things. And the doctors warned him about this, but because Dave was a really carefree kind of too chilled out guy, he didn't really understand and listen to what his doctor had to say to him. So with Dave being infertile, Annabelle, she really couldn't take it anymore because she wanted kids so bad, so she left them and never looked back. So this hurt Dave's pride a lot, and it made him feel less of a man, and it really damaged his pride. And even over the smallest things, you wouldn't really show emotion and know how to communicate with the person. So his persona is a very nonchalant attitude, and he doesn't really take interest in things in which he's told. So one day or ongoing, he's met this woman at work, and he's really built a really strong relationship with her over a period of time, and he feels like she's connected him back to how he used to feel when he was with Annabelle. She makes him feel like he has a purpose in life again, like he feels what he's lost. So one day, this woman falls into labour, and Dave just rushes to the hospital as soon as he gets the news from wherever he is, and he's caught up in traffic, and so is Anthony. But then Anthony gets off the bus, and Dave sort of just speeds past, and at that moment in time, Anthony is run over by Dave. So Dave runs his son over, and the pinnacle of all that is Anthony is a rising sports star. So he had a promising future of being one of the fastest sprinters, which is what he's told by his coach. So obviously after this, he's just devastated at what happened. And from this is where just everything goes sideways. So both characters are based off pride, and they aren't really confident enough to talk to each other as a son and a father would do. And this is where conflict starts. So the objectives in the scene are pretty straightforward. From the moment we see Dave at Anthony's door, we know he wants something, and what he wants is he just wants to talk to Anthony like how Anthony's always wanted, but Anthony's too stubborn to see this, and he just brushes him off his shoulder. So the motivations for Anthony are to make Dave feel resentful and guilty for what he's done to him, but at the same time, Anthony's still understanding and sympathetic towards Dave, but because of his pride, he doesn't really want to show how he really cares about him. So both characters are pretty much based off pride. We sort of see Dave showing the emotion we've never seen in the scene before, and this is where he tells Anthony how he can't have kids. So we sort of see him finally opening up as a character. So my decisions and logistics. Looking at a feature film, I looked at Enemy, directed by Denis Villeneuve, I think that's how you pronounce it. I noticed how awkward of a character Jake Gyllenhaal had to play, and a lot of his shots were handheld, and it felt like it put me closer into the scene with him. So this is the approach I wanted to play out in my short scene, because I felt it helped you connect with the character a bit more. So the decisions for my shots in the beginning with Anthony were me wanting to show how alone Anthony was. So I opted by using a wide lens, I think in at least 90% of my shots. So the option with a wide lens was mainly because I wanted to create distance between the characters to sort of represent the emotional distance they also have. I wanted to have the characters constantly moving and minimizing eye contact with each other to show the lack of communication they have between each other as well, but that was really hard to do because of the tight space I had in the room. But if I could reshoot that again, I would definitely have a bigger room to shoot in. I did really like the shot, like a shot I saw from Enemy, and this is where we see Jake Gyllenhaal at the table and we see a woman talking over him, And what I wanted to do with this shot, I wanted to show the levels of the characters, so between Dave and Anthony. So I wanted to show Dave talking down on Anthony, apologizing, and we don't really see Dave in the shot. Well, we see Dave, but we don't really see his face, so we don't see his emotion. And we see Anthony, but we see Anthony not really taking in what Dave is saying, so he's a bit too carefree about everything. So the decisions with the scene in terms of lighting, I wanted to make everything cold and dark, and the reason was because I wanted to make everything feel depressing and tense, like you didn't know what would happen between the characters. I had Dave dress up in dark colours like grey and black because I thought this represented something that you couldn't approach, something that's unsustainable, and I felt this was something very, very, very strong in Dave's character, and it also represented a sort of a negative environment, so everything nothing in the environment was very good and something you can smile about. If I could, I would have changed the colours of the walls to probably something dark and moody to represent how Anthony's character is. So casting, honestly, auditions were probably the toughest part of the whole process. What I was looking for someone who could deliver the script as well as being emotionally connected to the character and understanding how the character should be without me sort of having to tell them. So I wanted to see if the script was well developed enough for the actors to understand what exactly was going without me having to explain the top context of each character. I found a character that could relate to each of the characters actually, and this was because he mentioned that he had past experiences with his mum, and I felt like this is something that I was looking for because it would help the acting flow more naturally. Like I didn't want anything to be too forced or something that's not realistic, because I wanted everything to be realistic, as in it just felt like real life, like you was there, like you understood everything. The editing process was pretty much straightforward. I already knew which shots I wanted and where, so I just really matched everything up with my storyboard. In editing, I wanted quick cuts with Anthony, so things where he reacts sharply, I wanted to show his frustration with Dave being in his room. Things that went well, I think I could have improved on things such as locations, set design. Probably looking back at my script now, I think maybe I could have developed it a bit more and have more lines where you could really see more emotion between the characters and how everything builds up. So I think that was a key thing I missed out on. Another big factor was time on set and actors dropping out. I think with that, if everything with actors went okay, I think everything would have been much better. It would have been easier for me to direct. I would have had more time to reflect on and watch back the scenes to see if anything was needed to change, because I felt like I didn't get enough time to really express how I wanted the actors to feel. But I've definitely learned a lot from this directing unit. And with that, I think that's it for my vlog. Thank you.